In this video, I'm going to help you distinguish between codependent empathy and healthy empathy. This distinction is going to help you get free and feel relief in every area of your life, because your empathy is meant to be fun. Your empathy is meant to be freeing for you and freeing for other people. When you're looking at whoever it is in your life, parent, sibling, child, friend, client, employer, whoever it is that you're bringing your empathy to, if when you do it, you feel like they are small, you feel pity for them, you feel, you wish it was different for them, you want to be a little skeptical about that. Like, take a second look. Is that actually true? Is it true that this person that you are feeling empathy for is somehow trapped, limited in some way that you can see and they cannot, or that they can't get out of? That's the piece that I think is really problematic in our community of empaths. So often clients and potential clients come to me, even people on Instagram randomly commenting and messaging me. One of the most common things that they are troubled by is this feeling that they have to do X, Y, or Z in order to take care of someone else. In fact, I had a conversation this morning with a potential client who's having this anxiety about raising their prices because they don't want to make what they're doing inaccessible. They don't want people to feel cut out or like, they can't access the thing. And on the surface, that's legitimate, because we of course we want to serve our people, and this person's people are at a certain demographic, they have a certain amount of income, they live in a certain country, it's a reasonable thing for this person to be thinking about. But as we dug in, what they found was that this is a codependency. This is an over empathizing with the disempowered part of their ideal client that doesn't have the money, can't see the pathway, can't pay, can't do the work, and will feel victimized by their lack of access. Even when I'm saying it right now, I'm like, I identify with that. I resonate with that. I have known people, I have been a person who couldn't access something because of the price. That's not a crazy thing. That's not an irrational thing. That's not an irrelevant thing. It just so happens that it's also possible for a codependency to be hiding out underneath that thing. And I think that's the kind of like tricky part, because the codependency is, I see this person, I see my demographic, I see my ideal client as weak, helpless, unresourceful, unresilient, without the ability to claim what they want. Therefore, I have to lower my standards or lower the door so that they can get in. That's kind of gnarly. And I think that the hard part about this is that there is truth, right? Not everybody is experiencing the same level of access. That's real. The tricky part, the codependency, is when I decide that I'm the one to determine what your level of access is. That's the problem. And in particular, if I see your access as less than what's true for you, that's going to be disempowering for you. This is just an entry point into this larger conversation about what codependency looks like, in particular, how it relates to empathy. Empathy, in my mind, this sort of cliche definition, the easy definition, is putting your feet in someone else's shoes. It's a tool for compassion. It's a tool for understanding. It's a tool for relationship. It's a tool for connection. It's a tool for expansion, because you can see a perspective that's different from your default setting. I think it is misconstrued, or there's like a tacit piece of this definition that gets roped into this that is actually totally irrelevant. That empathy has to do with feeling for someone in a way that disempowers them, in a way that sees them as a victim. Having compassion for someone does not mean putting them in the role of victim. I think that's like the inherent codependency. Now, let's back up. Why is the internet filled with empaths? Because if you guys have read Drama of the Gifted Child, there's lots of other books that talk about this as well. Like, we were raised by generations, multiple generations. So like, regardless of what age you are right now, if you're alive today, chances are your parents or their generation were relatively unable to respect your boundaries. And because they didn't respect your boundaries, you learned not to have them. And not having them, and then having to navigate whatever your dynamic with your parents were, mean that it was incumbent upon you as a youth, as a very young person, to anticipate what your parent wanted, needed, was thinking, so that you could do whatever it was that they needed, so that you would stay in their good graces. I'm not saying this to knock our parents. I as a new parent, I'm probably going to do this to my kid. I'm doing my best, but like there's a piece of our culture that just kind of makes this easy to fall into, and it's not correct for us. It's not the truth of what we're meant to be feeling. We are not meant to be tiptoeing around other people's emotional experience as our dominant paradigm. Tiptoeing is not compassion. Tiptoeing is not love. Tiptoeing is fear. Tiptoeing is codependency. Tiptoeing is not allowing ourselves to feel good if anyone else on the planet isn't feeling good. Guaranteed, at all times on this planet, everyone's feeling the entire range of emotions. Like there's somebody on earth feeling every single emotion. Your emotional guidance system has got to be independent of that. And I'll even go further. This phenomenon that we're pointing to of the empath movement, I would even say, in our culture right now, it's also a source of enormous strength. So I'm not knocking it either. Like we had this particular phenomenon of dysfunction in our childhood. It taught us to be extremely sensitive and aware of other people. And now we can use that for transformation. We can use that for good. But it's not the default setting. Our empathy's default setting is codependency. I'm going to say that again. Our empathy's default setting is codependency. So in order to use our empathy for transformation, for service, for good, we have to do our work to clean it up so that it's not hooked into either protecting ourselves or keeping someone else fragile. As I'm reflecting on it, I feel like we live in a culture of polarities. Of course, we're living in the most polarized time that I certainly of my lifetime, I feel like of human history, who knows? And so we've got these empaths on one side who feel everything. They feel every single thing that another person feels. They're so sensitive to what's happening. They can't tolerate conflict in a room, even for a moment, because their empathy is so strong. And then on the other side, this massive, Berlin Wall sized defense mechanism that is designed to like prevent us from feeling that. So then we don't feel anything. So I think healthy compassion, healthy empathy is actually the key to healing everything in our society. Our ability to see a perspective that is different from our own and find love inside that is critical. So for the folks who are defended and unable to be sensitive, their opening is becoming more empathic. For the folks who are so empathic that they can't distinguish themselves from other people, they have no framework for actually even recognizing that when they feel bad, it's actually someone else's emotions that they're feeling. For those people, it's boundaries and recognition and discernment that are the healing, so that the empathy can rest in its proper place. Empathy is not meant to be a defense mechanism. Empathy is not meant to be our survival technique. It is meant to be a tool for connection. And I think that's one way of looking at the difference between codependent empathy and healthy empathy, because codependent empathy really, if you drill down far enough, it's self-protection. And when you're busy protecting yourself, you can't really be of service to someone else. So as you heal, and this is a moment to moment, everyday activity, I'm doing it. We're in this together. This is not about perfection. But as we heal our codependency in our empathy, so that we can actually just focus on the person in front of us, the enormous opportunity is to serve. The enormous opportunity is to facilitate and participate in a large scale transformation. It starts with just the relationship, but it is the seed of healing racism. It is the seed of creating a new economy where everyone has access and everyone can win. It is the seed of healing ancestral trauma. In every arena. Healthy empathy doesn't make other people small. It's a combination of true compassion, an understanding of what someone else is going through that might be challenging or difficult or just different from you, while at the same time recognizing their infinite power and potential. Always infinite power and potential. Everything you want already here.